navigation, not electronically. I'm going to talk about that. And people will ask me how I do this, how do I get through this, and not only just financially, but how do you navigate? And I know some of you that cycle full time, or even most of the time, have experienced, some ups and downs, peaks and valleys, all definitely. So, what I want to talk about is how I personally navigate life, getting through this, and when things get a little bit rough and sketchy, not on the road so much, just the normal life stuff, and when the questions come from people from the outside. Now, I'm very fortunate. I have a family that supports the way I live, and my daughters who are grown up and are successful in their way of life, they support me, and their mom, which is important, and also my family, my mom and dad. And so these things help. It doesn't help if somebody's not supportive and somebody's digging at you with all, hey, what are you doing living on a bike or bike touring? Where are you going? Riding from your past or stuff like that, I've had every comment you can imagine, especially with my past, I even have some really good old friends that don't understand what I'm doing, and that's okay. I don't understand what they're doing either. So we're all on the same page, sorta. But quickly, nobody wants to read your book. That's the way I feel. That's why I didn't write a big book. And I was going to write a book, about all my climbing adventures and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, I don't read other people's books that much, maybe a couple. But I'm interested in some old classics, and things. But I really don't care too much about other people's lives, to that much, to a big extent. I care about them, but I don't care what they're doing all the time. And sometimes it helps to have a navigational tool, like a book or something for yourself to go back to, not necessarily a person or a character. And so what I did for myself was I just kept a journal, but then I wrote down something that a friend told me. And Gyatrul Rinpoche, he was a Tibetan Lama, and I'm not a Buddhist, but he said, hey, I'm going to give you this verbal teaching. I'm going to tell you something. And then I want to challenge you to write it down. And I said, okay, And he didn't say it in those words. You have to understand, he's talking to me slow and broken, and I get most of the information from my friend Richard, who's been his attendant for many years. So he says, yeah, he wants you to do this. And so I said, oh, okay. And this was years ago. And so I just kind of let that go. I thought, that's kind of, I don't need to do that right now. And I wasn't into keeping a journal, but it wasn't a journal, It was basically just, navigation through life, or how you get through, how does a human live? And basically he just asked me, how do you live? This is before bicycle full-time stuff. And I tried to, I was a climber at the time. I think they were sort of like wondering, how they didn't get it. I worked up with I helped them at their property. And so it was a Buddhist small family with the Lama there. Anyway, we'll get out of that now, and I'll just tell you. So what I did was I wrote this little thing here. Okay, I don't sell my book on here because, again, nobody really wants to read a story of yours too much. But this is not a story. And one of the things that I'm going to refer to in here quickly, because I use this on the bike. See how it's thin? Oh, that must be really not interesting. It's so thin. Well, it'll take you probably a lifetime to really pay attention and read it, because I just translated this into how I navigate from what the suggestion was from my friend, and it just turned out to be 2 pages on certain levels of getting through how I navigate. Now, I decided to put the glacier in there because the glacier was a great reference for me before bicycling, how I navigate, difficult obstacles, and staying out of dark places, crevasses, and the techniques I had to use and take care of my people and me. And so I started thinking, wow, I use that a lot in just life. I'm navigating dark places, dark vibrations that I don't need to get into. And right now, I just thought, well, instead of talking about how I use this book in every section, this section of balancing your load, or the load you carry, that's me pulling a sled with a big heavy load, going in to climb this mountain in the Alaska range, and a pack on my back, so I'm balancing the load so I don't number one, it's not too heavy. Number two, I don't fall in a crevasse. I'm spreading myself out. And just like life, I got to balance the past, and I'm balancing what I'm carrying right now. What I'm carrying right now is real important. And like on the bike, I'm balancing that load, not only the weight of it, but also internally as I climb on there and head out, into the unknown. And that's really what it is. And every time you climb on here, and every time you wake up, it's the unknown. You don't know what's out there. It's always a little uneasy right when you wake up, and unless you're just bomb-proof and feel great. And I always tell people, if you have a bomb-proof ego and life is good, you may not need a little book like this right now. But I always say, hey, pop it in your bag for later. You might need it when the road gets a little tricky. It's not about climbing mountains. Again, this book is not for everybody. It'll be in my description. Check it out if you want to. It looks small. It is small, but like I said, you could spend years reading it and go back, waiting out the big storms, balancing your load, rest and reflection. All these things that I talk about in here matter. And so this book is not about conquering mountains. Instead, it serves as a guide, not a lean toward New Age theories. So you get that part. This is deeply rooted in your human spirit, and if you're interested in just checking it out, and again, I use the glacier as an analogy, a metaphor to getting through. And the bicycle, the same thing. It's like, whoa, it's tough, peaks and valleys, ups and downs, and you're drawing from those old lessons, as your tools. And sometimes that's tough. Anyway, so that's how I do it every day, just navigating. And the other thing is navigating the obstacles through the new times. Right now, especially right now, it's a good time to have something to reach into. And even if you write something like this yourself, keep it with you. It's not a journal. This is sections on how I navigate. And I talk about energy and vibration. Well, that's not debatable. That's not some conspiracy or your vibration. So use that. I use it. It's changed my life from almost being dead 4 years ago to what I'm doing right now. And hey, I know I'm not Superman athlete, but hey, I'm 60 years old. I'm out here happy, and my gut feels good, and I'm out here on my beautiful bicycle, and life is good. So hopefully that helped a little bit, and hopefully it lifts your day up a little bit. And have a great day. Please like and subscribe, and listen to some stories, and check out some of the tips on bikes that I've made in the past here, and look forward to making more videos. So if you live a little differently, and you're making good moves, smart moves, keep rolling.